Here we are, it is Corvette ZR1 day. All the information has been released, and honestly, I wasn't going to do anything about it. I had other things to do today, but I had a request from a viewer for my take on the vehicle, and I did see a lot of the information earlier when the embargo was broken, so I've had thoughts, and let's talk about it. This car is going to make 1,064 horsepower. It hits that power at 7,000 RPM, and it's going to make 828 pound-feet of torque at 6,000 RPM. And I believe the redline is around 8,000 RPM for the engine, which is a little lower than the flat plane V8 that was in the Corvette Z06. And that's probably smart because while this is another flat plane crank engine that's going to have high RPM potential, it's also going to have a lot of power and two turbochargers, ball bearing turbochargers, pushing that kind of power, and you probably want to be a little conservative if you're Chevrolet in exactly how fast you spin it. So it's got that cool LT7 acronym to go along with the all-new powertrain that makes this crazy power, and it will be hooked up to the expected 8-speed automatic, which has been beefed up, of course, top to bottom to handle the kind of power. And all of that power goes through the rear wheels. That's an impressive pedigree so far. But we also know things like it's got a lot of carbon fiber exterior pieces, lower front and rear diffusers and side seals, and even a kind of very basic wing. And then there is a package that you can add which will put a larger wing on it and add more carbon fiber components to the exterior, including a gurney lip on the front hood. And my understanding is that this can deliver up to 1,200 pounds of downforce at high speeds. This is a good thing because if you have a vehicle that has 1,064 horsepower and it's relatively aerodynamic, it's probably going to have a high top speed. I believe it's supposed to be above 215 miles per hour. Powerful car, high top speed, a lot of downforce to keep it bolted to the ground, and probably around $150,000 to $170,000. That's a lot of car for that kind of money. They won't go for that kind of money, let's be honest. But in theory, if you could actually buy one for what the MSRP is in the first year and a half, 2 years they're in production, that would be a lot of car for the money. Now let's talk about the bugaboos with the Corvette, the same things that make me not happy about the Z06. It still, of course, has a big 2 golf club friendly trunk, yay. And I understand it's dry weight has been quoted between like 3,600 and 3,700 pounds, which is probably going to translate to close to 2 tons when it's fully loaded with fluids. I think my understanding, what I heard from someone else, was that if you get the carbon fiber wheels, which it comes with, which are pretty cool, you can just get under 4,000 pounds in terms of an actual, wet weight, curb weight for the car. That's just too heavy for me. I just don't have any interest in driving a car that weighs 2 tons around corners. I have a car, it's sitting right below me, that weighs, I think, around 4,200 pounds, called a Dodge Demon 170. But I don't care because I'm not trying to go around corners in that car. And actually, everyone always makes fun of the Demon for not being able to go around corners, and I think most people will be surprised how well it does handle. That LX platform is shockingly good. But it doesn't matter. If it was a complete feeble-minded mess going around corners, it's not supposed to go around corners, and it doesn't matter. The fact that it goes around corners at all is kind of a bonus. A sports car is supposed to go around corners. It's supposed to be able to pull impressive lap times and be fun and driver rewarding while doing it. I've driven enough cars of various weights to know that once you get past about, I'm going to say 3,500 pounds, 3,600 pounds max, you're not having fun going around corners. You can do it if you have enough tire and enough downforce, and I've seen various tests of various what I would call overweight cars in the past few years that pull impressive lap times, up to and including things like Tesla Plaids. But just because you can pull a lap time doesn't mean you're having a good time doing it. And I've also driven a lot of 3,000 pound cars like my own Ford GT, a lot of the McLarens that are being built now, like the 750S and the 765 LT. These lightweight cars are just far more rewarding to go around corners in. So if you want to have a big number to brag about, the Corvette ZR1 is going to deliver that, undeniably. 1,000 plus horsepower in a sports car is crazy. If you think that translates into a rewarding driving experience, or really even a lot of gain in the actual performance numbers, take it from someone who knows. with a 1,000+ horsepower car. Even with the factory Mickey Thompson drag radials, basically just goes up in smoke if you do anything aggressive on the throttle. It's very hard once you get past a certain horsepower, especially in a rear-wheel drive car, to leverage that horsepower. The Corvette E-Ray has all-wheel drive, and that helps it take advantage of the additional torque that the electric powertrain provides. The Z06 has already got established lap times and 0 to 60 times and quarter-mile times. With a 75% increase in power, is the ZR1 going to have like even a 20 or 30% increase in all those numbers? I don't think it is. I think it's going to be fractionally faster in a lot of ways compared to the Z06, simply because when you have rear-wheel drive pushing out 7, 8, 1,000 horsepower, it's really hard to do anything with it. And there's going to be a lot of computer effort going on to rein in those ponies and get them to the ground as well as possible. So that's the unfortunate thing here. I think it's cool that the car is going to have carbon ceramic brakes. I think this is the first Corvette. I could be wrong, but maybe this is the first Corvette to have those, but certainly that's a good thing. And the top speed is going to be amazing because that's where horsepower is fabulous. You know, it just geometrically rises what kind of power you need to go over 200 miles an hour. But again, think about this. The new Ford GT had a top speed of 217 miles per hour with 640 horsepower. So almost twice that, 1,064 horsepower. And they're saying it's going to be over 215. Well, it should be over 215. That's a lot of power. I'm hoping for something in the 220s, but I don't think they've confirmed that yet with Chevrolet. So there you go. That's my take. A big horsepower number, lots of bragging rights for the Chevy guys, and probably some kind of improvement in all the acceleration and lap time numbers. But don't expect a proportional improvement compared to those numbers. That's a lot more power, and you're going to see fractional improvement in a lot of those numbers in my mind. And I can definitely confirm that when it comes to manhandling a 2-ton vehicle around a track, it doesn't matter whether it can do it. It may not be as fun to do it. As I've gotten older, I've become a big believer in that mantra. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.